Have you ever noticed how some mornings feel heavier than others? You wake up slowly. The legs don't respond the way they used to. The arms seem to have forgotten their strength. Even lifting yourself from the bed can feel like asking too much from a body that once ran, lifted, danced. You stretch your back, you rub your knees, and silently you wonder, is this just what happens after 60? There's something they don't tell you in the doctor's office. That the body, even in its aging, never stops trying to heal. That even after all the years, all the wear, all the sorrow that may have settled into your joints or your breath, the body still wants to rebuild. It still wants to live, but it can only do that if you give it the right tools. Dr. Shigaki Hinohara, the Japanese doctor who lived past 100, treating patients into his final years, once said, "Energy is stored in the body, not in age. If the body is fed wisely, it works longer." This is not just a quote. It's a key, a quiet, powerful truth about the life that still exists inside you, waiting to be nourished. And yet, many people over 60, maybe even you, wake up feeling weaker without realizing that night is when the healing is supposed to happen. Not during the day, not at the gym, but while you sleep, while the world is quiet, while the breath softens and the body repairs itself, cell by cell, muscle fiber by muscle fiber. But there's a condition. That repair, that beautiful silent work of restoration, can only happen if the body is supported, especially with what you eat before bed. Dr. Mark Hyman says, protein isn't just for bodybuilders. It's structural, functional, and essential to aging well. In other words, this isn't about muscles for appearance. It's about keeping you standing, walking, reaching, living. The tragedy? Many older adults stop eating dinner. They avoid proteins at night. They're afraid of bloating, of sleeplessness, of heaviness in the belly. They sip tea. They nibble a biscuit. They go to sleep empty, not just of food, but of the nutrients their body begs for in those sacred hours of repair. But what if I told you there are proteins, gentle, natural, time-tested, that do not disturb your sleep, but instead deepen it, that do not burden your digestion, but quietly feed your muscles through the night, the way soil feeds roots in darkness? In today's conversation, I'll share with you 4 of these nighttime allies, 4 proteins that are safe, digestible, and remarkably effective when taken in the evening, especially for those of us who have crossed the threshold of 60. These aren't strange powders or trendy pills. These are foods you may already know, but perhaps have never welcomed into your nights. Together, we'll explore their purpose, their power, and how to use them to reclaim what aging tries to take. Your strength, your balance, your dignity. Let's begin, not with fear but with curiosity, because sometimes the change we've been waiting for isn't loud. It's a warm bowl, a quiet moment, a well-chosen meal before sleep. There's a quiet reason many people over 60 feel a sudden drop in strength, and it often has nothing to do with the day. It happens at night. It happens in silence, when the body goes into its deep repair mode, trying to rebuild muscle, balance hormones, and recover from the day's wear. It reaches for fuel. But if that fuel isn't there, if the body goes to sleep empty, the process slows, weakens, or even reverses. That's why the hours after sunset matter so much, not just for rest, but for rebuilding. Casein, a milk-based protein found naturally in dairy, is one of the most powerful tools for this overnight recovery, but not for the reasons you might think. Unlike fast-digesting proteins that rush through your system in a couple of hours, casein digests slowly, very slowly. It forms a gentle clot in the stomach that releases amino acids over 6 to 8 hours. Like a quiet drip of nourishment, it continues feeding the body throughout the night, long after the lights are out and the house has gone quiet. For older adults, this matters even more. As we age, the body's ability to maintain and rebuild muscle, a process called muscle protein synthesis, becomes less efficient. A younger body might get away with long fasts or erratic eating, but a mature body needs consistency, especially during illness, recovery, or periods of limited movement. Studies have shown that seniors who take casein before sleep maintain more lean muscle mass, even during times of inactivity, than those who don't. It's like offering your muscles a lifeline through the night. But not all casein is equal. You don't need a fancy powder or a laboratory drink. In fact, most people digest it better in its natural forms, a warm cup of milk before bed, or a spoonful of unsweetened Greek yogurt. It's simple, familiar, comforting, and it works gently without bloating or disruption. Of course, everyone's digestion is different. Some may be sensitive to dairy, and that's worth listening to. But for many, a warm drink with casein is more than a tradition. It's nourishment that continues working while you sleep. Think of casein as a caretaker, not loud, not forceful, just steady. While the world sleeps, it stays, it watches, it nourishes. Casein is like a slow drip of nourishment through the night, quietly rebuilding what the day wore down. There's a reason many older adults quietly push their dinner plates away at night. Not because they're not hungry, but because they've learned through discomfort or trial that heavy foods bring heavy nights, bloating, restlessness, or a sleep that feels more like a burden than a balm. And so, out of caution, they eat less, sometimes too little, especially of what the body still needs: protein. This is where silken tofu becomes not just a food, but a gentle companion to aging bodies. Tofu, made from soybeans, contains all 9 essential amino acids, the building blocks the body needs but can't make on its own. It is what scientists call a complete protein, but what elders in Japan have known simply as nourishing, especially at night. Unlike meats or dense legumes, tofu doesn't linger heavily in the belly. It digests smoothly, without taxing a slow digestive system. For those with sensitive stomachs, slower gut motility, or a sense that food now sits longer than it once did, this is a quiet relief. And yet, despite its softness, tofu is powerful. Soy protein stimulates muscle repair, improves metabolic function, and supports hormonal balance, all while being gentle to the body. In Okinawa, one of the longest living cultures in the world, it's not uncommon to find elders ending their day with a warm bowl of miso soup containing small cubes of tofu. This isn't an accident. It's a ritual, a closing of the day not with sugar, but with softness and strength. It helps the body unwind while still feeding it the materials it needs to heal overnight. You don't need a recipe book, just a warm bowl, a few slices of silken tofu, a miso broth with scallions, maybe a pinch of seaweed. It's enough. It doesn't shout. It simply supports. Tofu is like silk for your muscles, soft, subtle, but quietly strengthening through the night. And sometimes that's exactly what the body is asking for. Not something loud, not something new, just something that respects your pace and helps you recover while you sleep. Before we move on, pause for just a moment. If this idea that your body can still rebuild even while you sleep speaks to something you've felt but never fully understood, you might want to check the pinned comment below. Now let's keep going, because the next food is one you've probably known all your life, but may have never welcomed into your evenings. Some foods carry a reputation too strong to question. Eggs, for instance, are considered morning food. They belong next to toast, orange juice, the hum of a radio in the early light. For decades, we've reserved them for breakfast, and perhaps unknowingly, we've limited their potential. But what if that egg, so often linked with sunrise, held its greatest strength when taken at dusk? Eggs are among the most complete bioavailable sources of protein we have. Each one contains a rich supply of leucine, an amino acid that directly activates muscle repair. It's especially powerful for those over 60, whose natural ability to build and maintain muscle slows down. And yet many older adults struggle with appetite, especially in the evening. The thought of a large dinner can feel daunting, but a single egg? That feels possible, more than possible. It may be one of the most practical nighttime supports we've overlooked. An egg, when paired with a few slices of avocado or a handful of almonds, doesn't just offer muscle support. It balances hormones, helps stabilize blood sugar, and supports deeper, uninterrupted sleep. It's light, it's familiar, and for most, it's easy to digest. There's also a fear many still carry, a relic of past decades, that eggs are dangerous for the heart, that their cholesterol content is too high. But recent studies have shown something different. For most seniors, moderate egg consumption can actually support HDL levels, the good cholesterol, especially when combined with fiber-rich foods. And perhaps even more quietly, eggs nourish the brain. They provide choline, which supports memory, focus, and mood. Not just muscles, but mind. What makes the evening timing so powerful is that it aligns with the body's rhythm. As night falls, the body shifts into repair mode, especially the muscles and tissues strained through the day. Providing it with usable protein before bed gives it what it needs to do that work, to patch, to strengthen, to restore. An egg at night is like a patch for worn-out muscle fibers, sealing micro-tears while you rest. Simple, small, and often forgotten. But in its quiet way, it can change the way you feel when you rise. Not all food needs to be grand. Sometimes it just needs to arrive at the right moment. There's a particular kind of pain that doesn't announce itself loudly. It waits for the quiet hours of the morning. You feel it when you sit up slowly on the edge of the bed, when your knees resist bending, when your shoulders carry a tightness that no massage seems to soften. It isn't sharp like a cut or urgent like a fever. It's more like a deep ache from within, as though something inside you is wearing thin, slowly, silently. For many, this is simply labeled as aging. But what if the body wasn't breaking down so much as it was being left unsupported? What if the scaffolding, the very framework that holds our muscles, joints, and skin together, wasn't being given the chance to repair? Throughout our lives, our bodies are engaged in a quiet, tireless effort to keep us upright and moving. Tendons stretch and recoil. Ligaments stabilize every step. Fascia, the soft tissue network that weaves through the entire body, holds everything in place, connecting muscle to bone, bone to structure, and structure to strength. All of this depends on collagen. Without it, we begin to sag, to slow, to stiffen. Collagen isn't something the body keeps producing endlessly. As the years pass, production naturally declines. But the need for it only grows, especially after 60, when tissues become thinner, joints become drier, and the body's small injuries no longer repair as easily overnight. And yet, many still think of collagen as something for wrinkles or skin creams, something cosmetic, something optional. In truth, collagen is structural. Found in bones, muscles, tendons, and cartilage, it acts like the invisible glue that holds you together. Without enough of it, every movement becomes harder. You begin to feel not just older, but unheld, as if the body no longer fits together quite right. And that's not a failure of the body, it's a lack of raw material. But collagen cannot do this work alone. It needs an ally, glycine. Glycine is a small, unassuming amino acid, the kind the body doesn't talk about in magazines or headlines, but it plays a quiet, essential role. Not only does it support the structure of connective tissues, it also soothes the nervous system. It encourages the body to fall into deep restorative sleep, the kind where real healing happens. This is no small thing. As we age, sleep becomes more fragile, less deep, and when sleep suffers, everything else follows. Muscles don't heal, inflammation builds, pain lingers. That's why the timing of nourishment matters. Taking collagen and glycine in the evening just before bed allows the body to work with them during its most active repair phase, while you rest. It's not unlike handing the night workers a tool before they begin their shift. Without it, they're limited. With it, they rebuild. Traditional wisdom understood this in ways science only recently began to name. In many older cultures, the evening meal was humble, but rich in what mattered. A warm cup of bone broth slowly simmered from animal bones, joints, and tendons. Not wasted scraps, but the very parts of the animal most abundant in collagen. This broth wasn't just for flavor. It was for healing. It was taken in silence, often with herbs, often near sleep. A ritual not of indulgence, but of care. Today, this ritual can still be honored, even if life looks different. Bone broth, prepared at home or chosen carefully from natural sources, can be sipped warm an hour before bed. A small scoop of collagen peptides stirred into herbal tea, paired with a squeeze of lemon, or a pinch of acerola powder for natural vitamin C, offers a similar effect. It doesn't take much. Just presence, just consistency, and the body responds. You may not notice it immediately. It might begin with something small, a morning where the knees feel less tight, a shoulder that doesn't resist the first reach, a deeper breath, a quieter night. These are not miracles, they are answers, responses to care. Because collagen doesn't just patch things up, it strengthens, it fortifies. And when combined with glycine, it supports a calm, steady descent into sleep, where the real work of recovery begins. Collagen works like a carpenter overnight, not rushing, not drawing attention, just doing the work that keeps the house upright, quietly replacing worn-out beams. reattaching loosened joints, securing what age tries to undo. And so, each evening, there is an invitation, not to fight time, but to support what time has worn. Not to chase youth, but to honor the body that still carries you. With warmth, with intention, with something as simple as a cup in your hands, and the willingness to nourish what still longs to be strong. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara once said, "Sleep is when the body works. What you feed it before bed is your part of the job." That phrase lingers like the last light in a quiet house. Because in truth, aging does not steal your strength in a single moment. It fades it slowly, unless you choose to nourish what remains. Muscle loss after 60 is not simply the body giving up. It is, more often, the result of missed moments, missed meals, missed signals, missed opportunities to repair. And one of the most overlooked moments is the one right before you close your eyes. The night is not an ending. It is a beginning for the body. While the world rests, the body begins its quiet labor, healing tears in muscle, rebalancing hormones, restoring tissues, clearing inflammation. But to do this work, it needs raw materials. It needs presence. It needs care. Dr. Mark Hyman reminds us, food is medicine, and timing is part of the prescription. What you eat matters, but when you eat, especially at the end of the day, can mean the difference between waking up stiff or waking up strong. So ask yourself gently, without pressure or guilt, what if your greatest breakthrough in healing didn't require a new medicine, a new device, or a new doctor, but a simple change in rhythm? What if it began with a bowl of broth, a single egg, a spoonful of yogurt, or a warm slice of silken tofu before bed? It's not about adding complexity. It's about returning to something our grandparents understood. That food is not just fuel. It is an offering to the body, an act of kindness toward yourself, a way to say, I am still here and I still matter. You don't need to change everything at once. You don't need to rush. Just notice. Choose one thing and see what it feels like. To sleep with nourishment in your body and to wake up with strength that wasn't there the day before. This is not the end. It's the beginning of a different kind of night. One where your body is not forgotten, but cared for. One where you give it just enough to keep going. Not for others, but for yourself. Because you deserve to rise with strength. You deserve to walk with ease. And you deserve to live these years with the same dignity with which you've lived all the others. Before we part for the night, there's one more thing I'd like you to see. In the quiet of reflection, sometimes a single sentence, a single idea, can shift something deep inside. If today's conversation stirred something in you, even just a little, take a moment and look at the pinned comment below. You may find it holds exactly what you didn't know you were looking for.